Alright guys, I just want to jump in here quick before today's video and give a shout out to some new sponsors that jumped on board for the channel. We got Lifetime Trailmaps. I want to give them a shout out. We've been running their stuff for probably years now, and love it. Love the product, and the mapping is great. They offer, you know, preloaded tablets with a bunch of mapping all over the country. So highly recommend, if you're in the market, give them a shout. Let them know we sent you. There's links down below to their website, but if you hit them up on social media and let them know we sent you, they'll help you out, I'm sure. So aside from them, we've also got Planet Side by Side. So give them some love. You know, if you guys need wheel and tire packages, they've got Zillas, they've got carnivores, canines, they've got it all. So I know they do a lot of the pre-mounted wheel and tires packages, so pretty cool stuff there. But they do have everything. I mean, pretty much every accessory you could want for a UTV or side-by-side, I think they've got it. So they're a dealer for it. They got a lot on their site. But like I said, links down below for them as well. If you need anything for your side-by-side, check it out. On to the video. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. We got Trader, my Can-am up on the lift. If you guys didn't catch the last video, go check it out. I took a tumble down Big Smith, I believe the name of the hill is, when we were at S'more a couple weeks back. I am gonna do some much needed love that this thing needs. So I got the Rona these days, so no better time than to sit in the shop by myself and work on the X3. I'm on the tail end of the virus right now, and feeling good enough to work on my rig. So if I sound a little under the weather, that is why. But figured, what better time than now to get some stuff done, you know? I mean, sick of sitting in the house, cooped up, and ready to get back to work on some stuff. So, if you guys didn't know, rolled this thing last time we were at S'more and bent the trailing arm. So you guys can kind of see that ripple right here. And that's the easiest way to show it. It's hard to catch toe in camera angles. But as you can see there, the tire is actually pointed like that. And that tire is square. So it's towed in super gnarly, and it's actually, when you drove it, it was like rear steering the one tire under, so it was causing this shock to extend. And basically it made it look like a monster truck in the rear because it was like pushing the shock up. I don't know if any of that makes any sense, but it drove like crap. And not that I was gonna plan on leaving it anyways, but I was gonna ride the rest of that day, or the following day, with it the way it was. But I wouldn't have been able to hit much. I actually wanted to hit the same obstacle that I rolled on again. I wanted to do it again, as stupid as that sounds. But when you would gas it, it would like rear steer one way, and it was really weird and hard to control basically. So we're back home now. Got some much needed upgrades for this thing, upgrades and repairs, so pretty excited about that. We're gonna dive into this thing, fix it up a little bit. She's beat these days, you know, she's taken some tumbles in her day, that is for sure. But first off, we're gonna start tearing this thing down and get this bent trailing arm off. I just want to give a shout out to these Nrp Radius Rods and that Nitro Racing parts. If you guys are looking for a radius rod, I think they make them for pretty much everything now, but X3 Polaris for sure. They're strong, they're built, they're tough. I rolled this thing twice on the Missouri trip, all 6 of them, still straight as an arrow. So got the freshie thrown on here, fresh trailing arm. These are the SuperATV trailing arms. I do want to mention my opinion on them. They are considerably cheap compared to other manufacturers, and they are truly high clearance. Some other companies, they're just stronger. They're not actually high clearance, and that's not what I was after. I was looking for high clearance trailing arms, and you lose, or you gain, I should say, a bunch of ground clearance when you switch to the SuperATV ones. That being said, I do think they're pretty strong. This thing's been rolled like frickin', geez, I don't even know, probably into the teens of times with these trailing arms on it, and every time I roll it back over, you gotta wonder what's bent. You know, it puts a lot of force on things in weird ways, and I'll throw in a clip right here if you guys missed it, but this thing landed all on the one tire. So the radius rods took the hit, the trailing arm did not. The chassis took the hit, which is a good thing. So in my opinion, it was a win-win. You know, the trailing arm bent, and you gotta have a weak link somewhere. They are very strong, but they still are weak enough to bend instead of my chassis bending. So just a theory. Not saying that it can't be stronger than my chassis and then the chassis will bend one day and me jinx this, but this is what happened. So just explaining it to you guys as I see it. As far as the damage goes, here's the old one. You guys can see that ripple there. You can see here where the paint or powder is broke, cracked, however you want to call it. So this piece bent, this whole piece bent in, causing the wheel to toe in. The rest of the trailing arm, still good. The Heim, still good. Everything is still good on these trailing arms, so I'm still happy with them. Reached out to SuperATV, and they sent me a new one, so shout out to them for taking care of it. No questions asked. They just wanted a picture of the trailing arm bent, and mine, it was kind of hard to even show in a picture, but still just sent out a new one. And actually, the wrong one was sent out. I ended up with a driver's side one, and I needed a passenger one, and they just shipped me another one, and said don't worry about it. So super sick. Ended up with 2 new trailing arms. Can't ask for much more than that, you know. So shout out to SuperATV for taking care of me, making it right. And for the record, you know, we've got this social media thing going on, and some people will take care of you based on that. I don't even think SuperATV knows, never even mentioned that it was for a YouTube channel or anything like that. So I believe that's just true customer care. I know there's lots of things said about that company, but you know, we just give it to you straight. So this is how we were taken care of, and that's what we're gonna put in the video. So anyways, guys, I got the new one thrown in here. Just gotta get the brake line screwed back in to the threaded holes that come in these. Throw the knuckle back on, throw these radius rods and axle back in, and we will be good to go on the trailing arm. And then we'll be moving on to the next couple things that we're gonna tackle in today's video. So stay tuned, guys. There's still more to come. All right, so next thing I got is some fresh EBC brakes. They are the R model, EBC Rs or whatever. I don't think I've ran EBC yet. I've ran 2 sets of OEM, and then a set of just some cheap ones off Amazon, see how much life I got out of those. I think every set I've only got a couple 100 miles out of. So not having the best of luck with brake miles and brake longevity, brake pads I should say. So went up on the forums, asked you guys. A lot of you guys said the EBCs, so I'm gonna give those a whirl. They are a little bit more than the eBay ones or Amazon ones, whatever, but if it saves me some brake life, you know, I'd rather have that, but we'll see how it goes. But just like everything else, got some issues here. I don't know if I've ever showed you this, but as you can see there, that is one of the Torx pins that goes through the caliper and holds the pad on. The very first time I changed my brake pads, that thing stripped immediately, and it was Loctited in with a bunch of Loctite. Once I finally I actually had to drill it out to get it out, and so what a disaster. But I got it out that first time, and then every time since, I told myself like, you know, I'll just do it this one time, and then I'll order a new caliper for the next one. But it's been coming out rather decent, so I've just been throwing a little tack weld on here to hold that pin in, because all it is the pin threads into the caliper, just holding, you know, your caliper on. So it's not really doing much. It's just going through your caliper or through your pads to hold the pads in place. So not much force on it. Threw a little tack there, and then every time I've changed my pads, I've just ground the tack off and pulled the pin out, and it seems to be working fine. So I'll probably keep running it until it screws me one time, and then I'll have to order a new caliper. But for now, I mean, the caliper works fine. It's just the threads are messed up on the pin, and the pin itself, threads are messed up too. So I don't know, kind of a bummer, you know. You try to do something simple like change your brake pads, and then it turns into an issue like that. But now I expect it because I already know what's happening. But other than that, I'm gonna throw some new brake pads on this thing, and then move on to the next item on the list. Well, it's not pretty, but all it needs to do is hold that little pin in there that has no force on it, or stress, or resistance. I don't know the right word, but that's all I've been doing, just throwing a little tack on it. And then when I gotta change my brake pads, bust out the old grinder, grind the tack off, and then pry that little pin out. So I guess I'm gonna keep doing it till I can't no more. So on to the next thing. All right, guys, going on day like 10 of COVID here. Just trying to get something done on the old X3, but time each day is limited before I feel exhausted. Kicking my ass. However, the next thing we got up is a skid plate for the X3. This thing was very beat up. Doesn't look terrible in the video, but there was a bunch of broken rivets, which this thing's riveted on, for those of you guys that don't know. And there was a bunch of broken rivets and things like that, so it was kind of hanging down. My sliders were mangled completely, and those bolted up here. You can see the line like in the chassis, or on the plastic I should say. And those bolted through into these holes and had like spacers here. So they put up a good fight, I will say that. They protected, you know, quite a bit up to here, if you want to call it that. It did still break this piece. So not entirely sure, I guess, what it was really protecting, because it's broke anyways. But definitely abused the crap out of them. You know, this rig's been through some shit, that's for sure. So I got the whole skid plate off now, as you can see. And I was super curious what the chassis was going to look like underneath the plastic. There's not many tubes in this chassis, really, and all of them are still straight. So I was super curious how that was going to look. You know, there is a couple like dented spots like that. But I already knew that. You could see that from up above. Even with the skid on, you know, you could look up in there and you could see the spot I was just pointing at. But as far as like bent tubes, none of them are bent from what I can see. They're all still straight. The main runners where the trailing arms tie into is all still straight. So that's pretty cool. I was a little concerned I was gonna drop that skid and see a bunch of scary bent up stuff, but none of it's too bad really. So the last straw for me on getting an aftermarket skid was at Moonlight. I hit a rock right here on the back of the rig when I was climbing a hill, and it bent this up, and the skid right there is really thin on the plastic part, so you could see it was pretty mangled. Both these rivets were broken. It was kind of just hanging down. So I got lucky on that hit that it didn't crack the trans or the rear diff, whatever you want to call it. So figured it was time to get some fresh stuff underneath here and start fresh with some protection. So this thing is riveted on, which sucks. So you got to drill out all the rivets. Luckily though, a lot of mine were broke, which is why, a big reason why I was changing this to begin with. But once you drill out the rivets, I kept a couple in to show you guys. Once you drill off the head of the rivet and you pull the skid off, then you've got a little rivet here that just hangs down. And the instructions tell you to the instructions of the skid plate just tell you to tap those up with a hammer, like so. And then they just disappear into the chassis. So I kept a couple just to show you guys, but it's not too bad really. So just got a couple of those left to tap up into the chassis, and then we're gonna start throwing some new stuff on. Hopefully that goes pretty well. I know the new stuff gets self-tapped into the chassis, so it'll be removable for future maintenance if need be, you know. Gives you access to your drive shaft, your carrier bearing, bunch of different stuff. All the chassis up here still looks pretty straight also, which is cool. So doesn't look too bad. I mean, it's filthy and it's dented and stuff, but for a stock Can-Am chassis that's been rolled upwards of, shoot, I don't know, 15, maybe 20 times. I think it's doing pretty well in my opinion. And as far as the stock skid plates go, I mean, this is the best one I've seen factory, and that's not saying too much. I haven't had obviously that many factory rigs, but from what I understand, not many of them have much of a skid at all. And Can-Am definitely does have a decent skid plate on it from factory. It held up. My only complaint is that it's riveted, but you know, whatever, here's what it is. Made it this far. So we're gonna see if we can't get some of this thrown up here by myself. See how it goes. All right, so we're getting the main pieces of this thing thrown up here now. This is a Trail Armor skid plate is the brand. Josh runs this, Billy runs this, and Ethan just put one on his X3 as well. So for the price, it's hard to beat. But so far, I just wanted to show you guys this before I throw these next two pieces on, because you'll never see them again. There's two pieces of metal here that run from this point, right by the trailing arm, all the way up to the front. So right in the inner fender there. And they do that so that way you can get more support in between the frame rail. So like, for example, this, if you put there would be no support here of this pushing up if this piece of metal wasn't here. I don't know if that fully transpires to what I'm trying to explain, but pretty rad because it does it in two spots. So here and here. Normally you just have one point here for a support, and then right here you'd just be trussing the plastic, which is right below you. That's the driver's seat. This is the fifth point, like through your seat. So it's pretty cool to see that this piece of metal kind of gives you more support in between the chassis bars. So where in between there you have a support, and here now you have this metal bracket on top of the plastic, or you know, whatever the material is made out of. And it does the same thing on both sides. So this, you kind of see better what I'm talking about here on this side, because the passenger seat is out. So there's no bracket here, so it would go into that. Just wanted to show you guys that before I put on these next pieces, because those bolt to it as well, and then you'll never see them again unless I take all this back apart. But going pretty well. I'm gonna keep on rolling. All right guys, so here it is, fully completed. I'm gonna drop it down and show you guys it from above, but before I do that, I figured I'd show it from below. So I got the side pieces on, they've got sliders built in, all real nice and flat, tucked up. So it's a real nice product. I'm happy with it. This piece has like a lip that turns up in front of it. Same there. Same there. And then a nice big plate underneath the diff. So we get it drop down and I'll show you guys from above. All right, so I got to drop down a little bit here. Just want to show you guys this. So only two downsides. Only two downsides that I mean, I say this now, but I haven't ran it yet, so I can't be like a true review, I guess I'll call it. But the only thing I see so far that would be downsides, in my opinion, would be I'm not a big fan of how far this sticks away from the cab. You know, that's 4 or 5 fingers, so it does narrow as it gets up there to about 2 fingers probably. So it's a couple inches, and you know, it's just gonna collect a bunch of mud up there. So that kind of sucks, but as well as the cab of these machines is already wide. So, you know, like you're already getting wedged in between rocks and boulders and stuff. So now you've got, you know, 4 inches on one side, 4 inches on the other side. So now your whole cab is 8 inches wider to get hung up on stuff. So, I mean, that's just my theory. I don't know if it's actually going to hurt me anywhere. It's almost the same theory as running like the tube sliders. You know, they get you hung up on stuff, as you guys have seen in our videos, I'm sure. And that's why we've never ran them. So I'm hoping that this doesn't happen to me. Ethan was running this skid at S'more, and he didn't have any noticeable issues. So I don't know, maybe that it's plastic, it'll slide through, won't really get hung up as much. And the fact that like everything is rounded up, so it shouldn't really get caught on stuff. That's my hope. Anyways, I just really wanted a slider that also, or a skid plate that also came with like a curved up rock slider. And the only one that curves up this far that I found was the Trail Armor. The rest of them just curved up like an inch, which I was hoping to get something that protected like more of the rocker panel like I had before. So that's why I went with this one. Plus for the money, it's a great skid. So also, I mean, this is a positive and a negative kind of here, but the skid, positive, it covers your clutch plate or your clutch cover, clutch housing, whatever you want to call it, belt housing. It protects it very good. Negative, I don't think you can get your freaking belt cover off without dropping the back part of the skid just a little bit so you can get that bolt out. I mean, maybe, yeah, I don't think so. I was gonna say maybe you could bend it down, but it's not that easy. So other than those two little downsides, thing looks great in my opinion. So that's gonna wrap up this video, guys. I do believe the next video is gonna be the RV video, walking around that, telling you guys about that. And I want to answer any of you guys' questions. I've seen quite a few now going through on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, all that stuff. So if you've got any questions that I haven't already answered, drop them down below in this comment section, and then I'll talk about those key points. It'll kind of give me topics to talk about in that next video that I know a lot of you guys are curious about. So yeah, if you got any questions or anything you want me to talk about, drop it down below on the RV, and I'll talk about it in that next video. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching. As you probably noticed, I'm feeling a little better. Definitely got more energy. I'm past COVID now. Since the last time I filmed, I was like in the middle of it or at the end of it or whatever, but we're all good now. Got the X3 wrapped up. I do have some more stuff to do to it, but that's gonna wrap up this video. The rest of the stuff's just little things. I'm not sure if I'll film it or not, but hit that subscribe button if you're not already. Hit that like button. Help boost this up into the algorithm, and we'll see you guys in the next one.